It's not for indoor kids, and indoor kids make podcasts. So natural light is a known enemy of the podcast.
That's so funny. I just did the same thing too right before. I had the window open right in front of me, and it was really affecting the lighting on my face. And I know we're going to hear about it from our listeners.
Mm.
This is the face that sells the program. Sorry,
Matt
Jeff.
doesn't need to be any more
I'm coming
pasty,
in hot.
and you're not looking pasty today. Did you get some sun yesterday?
I did. In fact, I got so much
Wow.
sun, I think I burned my eyeballs. It's like
Hey,
one of those
still
days.
though, that skin is like a very, 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 very light coffee. Like you got some tone there.
Yeah,
It's not milk
yeah.
anymore.
Eggshell.
Yeah, not bad. That's a solid eggshell now.
Yeah. I'm a new swatch. Um, dude. All right, man, it's the day everybody's
The
been
time has
waiting
come.
for. The great Creed and Nickelback debate of 2024.
I feel like this should have happened at a different time than 2024.
Yeah.
But if Creed can do the summer of '99 tour this year, then we can do this debate this year.
Ooh, I like it. You're already selling for me. So we've
Okay.
got this was a pitch. Did we include a name? Or
No,
should
this
we?
is
Did we get paid?
yes, the payment has the producers, the studio did come through. Um
How much was it? Can we
he
say?
realized
Or should we?
this is a $10 production. This is a $10 production. So this is
You're gonna get
from
$10
producer.
worth.
This is from producer Tim. I'll go Tim D. Right now, he is located in the greater Rochester, New York area. Um, I have known Tim for about 10 years. He was actually my he ran the gym that I belonged to from like 2012 to 2014. So I met him through that, and then he wasn't from the area. Ironically enough, I was from upstate New York, and he was from around Philadelphia. Now he's in upstate New York, and I'm around Philadelphia. Um, so he didn't really know a ton of people. So we just start. He's like, "Hey, do you want to hang out and stuff?" We were talking fantasy football. I'm like, yes, I do." So that's how Tim and I became friends. So more than a decade later, he's been one of our in tune listeners, and I think he is the guy that it's like, man, I'd sure like to have ideas of what I think would be interesting and funny, but I want nothing more than to just throw. I want to be an idea man and have nothing to do with actually developing that or certainly delivering it. So I think he was chomping at the bit to do something like this. So Tim came out swinging and demanded satisfaction in this debate topic, which, as we had said, has spawned because he's an idea guy. That folks, if you're not sure how to be a good producer, all you have to do now is throw a debate at us. You want two things hammered out? We'll hammer them
And
out for you.
cash.
And cash. Just all it takes is United States dollars, some of that sweet, sweet USD headed our
Give us that
way,
USD.
and
Give
we
us
will
that D.
give us that USD. And we'll hammer out whatever. We will try proportionally to how much you pay. So the more you pay, the more you get a say. That rhymes, so that
Oh
works.
my god, that works. And I gotta say, you'll get all your $10 worth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's I think I realized how much $10 was worth in going through Creed and Nickelback. At one point, I was like,
I
I'm
I
good.
will I will say that how much I looked into things and how much I now know about Creed and Nickelback, I would have charged more than $10. I would
Yeah.
rather have paid $10 than to so that I could get the time back and the lack of knowledge back from doing this research. So Tim, you got a great deal on that $10 because
Got early on. Yeah.
both of us are people who are like, I'm going to dive deep. If I'm going to dive, I'm going to dive deep. So you took advantage of our need to follow up, and yeah, $10 was a steal.
You know what? I dove deep. I dove 6 feet deep, and I thought, you know what? Maybe 6 feet ain't so far down.
Oh, hit the music.
I've confused my priorities. Isn't it supposed to come to me? Yes, this is how it's meant to be. Every little thing flashing on a screen. Age of convenience. My daddy worked hard for this. Age of convenience. His daddy worked hard for this.
I didn't tell you, but I already blew the budget for the show on this Creed 24 Take Me Higher t-shirt.
Oh
I'm
my
all in,
God,
baby.
I didn't
Let's
even
go.
see
Let's
that.
go. Woo. So this show's going to cost us money now.
Where did you get that?
The
Oh my
internet.
God, that's so good.
I know.
didn't
I'm going to
even
wear this in
think
my
of
regular
that.
life now.
Oh yeah, that's the best part, is that it's not even for the show. The show is the reason you get it, but life is the reason you get to
Yeah.
keep it. Oh
I can't wait
man,
to wear
I
this to
am
the
off to a
gym.
horrible start. I am off. If there is a point
So
system,
timely.
the guy tallying is just giving you 1, maybe even 2 points.
It'll be fun shirt to have if I still have it in like 10 years, because people will be like, oh yeah, the 24 election, that was the real bummer to be around for. And I'll say, yeah, but this shirt came from it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, different. I mean, I don't know. We have some questions we can go through. I think the producer gave us some questions that he wanted us to touch
We'll
on.
hit
I
on
have
'em.
some other random ideas, thoughts, prompts. I mean, that's a debate. We can bring up what we think makes our idea stronger. I don't think we established it yet on this episode, but I am, well, obviously I'm on Team Creed. You're on Team Nickelback, because of a coin flip, not because of our passion. It just happened to work out that way. So yeah, I mean, I could see arguments for both sides. You know what? That's what makes this a really good debate. But I think there will be one clear winner. And it has to do with just Creed being a better band. Okay, that's it,
Wow.
folks.
I don't appreciate you abusing the fact that you are starting things off, trying to objectively describe how the debate's gonna go, and then using terms like finishing with how Creed's the best. This is not a debate as to. This is a debate that starts with a which band is better, not why is Creed the better band. And I'd like to speak to the audience to let them know that your proposition that that's what the debate is about is slanderous, because we're not here to have to say if Jeff doesn't prove Nickelback's better, Creed defaults to staying on top, because Creed is not on top. So just keep that in mind, folks, that all he's done, all Matt has done is put into place that he will try dirty tactics and tomfoolery to win this debate. So I just pointing that out.
It sounds like you just said that both bands could lose, which is kind of a weak position from what I'm hearing. They could both be losers.
No, I'm confident that in an objective world, Nickelback will come out on top and prevail.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's what we're going with. Who's the best band? Who? Yeah, I guess we'll get through it. We'll get through it. Don't worry.
That's a good way of putting this. We will get through this.
Because an hour has to go by. It just has to. That's the way time works. Also, it looks like I don't want to jinx it too bad, but it looks like our connection is fairly okay right now. So if we want to, I do have Spotify pulled up. So if we want to check in that, or YouTube, or if you want to pull up anything, share anything, we can do that. Keeping in mind, if we play any song clips, I think they have to be around 15 seconds or something to keep us from getting copywritten, copyrighted.
Copyright.
If that's what we want. If we were actually want to listen to any of these tunes, or if we just want to just talk about it, more of a tell don't show kind of thing.
Right. I think
But yeah, we have
I
that.
I think putting in the debate too much songs. It's not about hearing the song themselves. It's how we are telling the listener and provoking them to want to make a decision based on completely objective description.
It's not about the music.
It's not about entirely the music. We're talking about which band, which collective group of
Okay.
men that have decided to partake in a form of business under a name which is best. That's it. And yes, music is a huge part of that of the product that they put out. But it is beyond the music, right? We're like VH1. This is behind the music.
Sounds like somebody who's not overly confident in their side's
Wow.
music.
Wow.
Is
So
what
you're
I'll
using
say.
that one again. Oh, wow. Is that what you're going to say after everything I do? Is say, oh, it sounds like someone not overly confident. Oh, that's a good tactic.
Well, let's get into the. I think that we get 5 criteria to start off with from Tim.
Yeah, I mean we can kind of cascade through those and kind of use those as a general guideline, we'll say. So we can kind
Okay.
of cascade through that list as a general guideline. However, that being said, as we all know, our production notes and often things get tangential. So we will do not our best, but we'll do pretty good at following that list.
Yep. So here we go. The great debate of the post grunge butt rock bands Creed, Nickelback rose to prominence in the late '90s. On the heels of Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, to this more anthemic, I don't know, chord based, like chorus, heavy music,
Not
and
as
it's basically
upset.
stadium rock.
Yeah, stadium rock. Not as upset. It's hey, we're not as happy as glam rock, but we're not as upset about as grunge. Let's try to meet in the middle.
And became punching bags of the internet when the internet came around, for the most part. Yeah. So a lot of it was hipstery stuff. I think, it was this, especially when the internet was coming out. It was like this era of how do we fight back, especially a lot of all the cool kid rock. It was like the garage rock was coming back, the Strokes, the Hives, all the bands, the Killers, that was hot in the mid 2000s, getting back to basics, lo-fi kind of stuff. And so that post grunge era just got rocked, and these two were the stepchildren of it. And still we know their names today. So let's get into it. Number one, who is the more popular band? That is a question posed by the. I guess that's the whole debate. But breaking it down, it's one of the main criteria. Who's the more popular band? How would you lean into this argument? Because there's different measurements, obviously. In a courtroom, you bring in your own evidence. Yeah.
Popularity is interesting because now you may ask yourself, folks, is popularity, you have to take yourself out of it because your opinion on popularity has nothing to do with popularity. You are one of a society, and popularity is about how society appreciates or enjoys the music. So, what I'm going to throw at you is some important kind of the already sealing the deal on popularity that you'll see that there's really no way to come back from any of this, to be honest with you. I would like to say that to go over some of the awards situations that Nickelback has been able to accomplish in their 30-year tenure. Happy 30th birthday to Nickelback this year from the formal makings of the band back in 1995. In their 30 years, there have been 15 BMI Pop Awards, 12 Juno Awards, 7 Much Music Awards, 6 Grammy nominations, 2 VMAs, 1 People's Choice Award, and for good measure, there was even a Kids' Choice Award nomination. So popularity is certainly nothing new to them. We have, with those awards, we have established that they are popular in the United States. They are borderline godly in Canada, where they herald from with those Juno and Much Music Awards.
Let's say, tell me what a Juno Award is again.
That is Canada's most revered music awards. They are up there with the likes of Bryan Adams. So I don't think I need any more street cred than that. Video Music Awards certainly are a popularity game. The People's Choice Awards, but even the children, all right? And the children know what's popular, all right? The children are sometimes even the gauge of popularity. So they have even been acknowledged by the children. But now I'm going to throw even, those are the junior stats. All right. Now I got more important stats, which is the stuff that's going to sound more familiar
Well, let
to
me,
you
just
all.
before you go, okay. Let me
please.
quick rebut on the awards, because I don't
Okay.
want to have to take notes to rebut.
Go ahead.
Whatever those fake awards you were talking about, let's talk real awards. You did mention the Grammys nominations. Let me tell you about a Grammy win. That is from Creed. That's the only argument we need on awards. Throw out all the fake awards you want. I mean, I can toss 4 wins at AMAs for you as well. I didn't put down nominations. I didn't think we were grasping at straws here. I thought we were just going to put down all the W's, the ones that count. So I'm gonna throw in the the 2000 what year was it? 2001 Grammy Award for Best Rock Performance for just a real banger with Arms Wide Open for Creed, and then 4 AMAs. But you're right, that Juno Award in 2001 for Best New Artist, that's basically the same thing in the music industry. So you decide, audience. You decide if you like nominations or if you like wins on the biggest stage. Carry on.
Okay, so Creed does have a win, and they have 3 out of 3 nominations, 6 Grammy nominations. The situation we face is that, folks, I want everyone to think about these large scale award ceremonies, and think of when you look at the nominees and you're like, oh, that one should have won. And really what we're looking at is nominees do matter. Nominations are collectively, you are in those top performing categories. So I would beg to say that 6 Grammy nominations does outdo 3 nominations, with one that admittedly did take home. So they were the number one that one time, but top place finishes, Grammy nominations, I would say 6 is substantially different than only having 3 nominations. But let's, you know what, you're right though. Let's get
Yeah, it's
kind
more
of
of a popularity contest.
Yeah. So no, number ones are important, Matt. You're right. So, that's fine. I don't want to brag, but they do have a number 1 on the Billboard Top 1 Hot 100. They have 6 in the top 10 and 19 total in the top 100 all time. Creed does have a respectable, also a number 1 hit, 4 in the top 10 and 7 total. So, 7 top 100 hits to 19. Nickelback certainly runs away with being able to be consistent with putting out the numbers. But you're right, 2001, what a year for Creed, right? 2001. Now, however, Billboard said in the year of 2009 they ranked Nickelback as the most successful rock group of the decade. And what decade is that? The one that includes 2001. Hmm. Interesting. Very, very interesting. From the Canadian Music Hall of Famers, they in the Billboards, a United States of America company, Creed's home country, declared that Nickelback was the greatest band of that decade that you're saying that you're hanging your hat on to include 2001. Interesting.
The decade that I've said at least 5 times on this podcast was a black hole of culture in our society and our history, the 2000s. Congratulations. You can talk numbers all we want.
Mhm.
And let's talk about this number.
Mm-hmm.
53 million albums sold to Nickelback's 50 million. And we break that down even further. Nickelback, of course, has more number ones, of course, has more streams. They have 10 albums. Creed only has 4. So they've done more with less. It's taken Nickelback far longer, far more albums. They're just accumulating. They're just, if you want to go by just being a band longer, if you want to go by just perpetually putting yourself out there, just putting out trash year after year, they're out there. Every Monday they're out there putting their trash can, and people are picking it up. But you know what, Creed? They're just Christmases. They put out their holiday trash. It's a special occasion, and people listen. I don't know where I where that analogy just came up, but it's doing more with less. And this was in the era of albums. We're still talking about times when people bought CDs, and the people agreed. They bought more Creed, even though there was less of it, than they bought Nickelback, and there was more of it. Weird, huh? I
Well,
don't know how that
you're
works out.
you're using that argument, yet that doesn't make sense because Nickelback did keep putting out albums and into the era where people were no longer buying CDs. So you're actually watering down your own statistics. So I appreciate you coming to terms with that. Um, however, Billboard also did mention that the most played song on the radio in the 2000s with over 1.2 million airs was How You Remind Me by Nickelback. So longevity, aka like people just can't get enough of it, aka popularity, from 2001 to the end of 2009, How You Remind Me just kept going. Why? Because people couldn't get enough of it.
When was the last time you listened to How You Remind Me?
We're not here
And
to
who
talk
are these
about
people?
excuse me. Well, sir, if you are going to be using stats, then we don't need to be questioning the validity of who the people are. It's not someone in their basement. Especially with radio plays. That means that they were on heavy rotation for an entire decade for one song. Now, that's not including all of their plays. And you're right, they do have more music out because there was a demand for it. There was a demand that Nickelback keep putting out albums, so they were consistently and are still consistently putting out those bangers.
Are you sure? Because to me, it sounds like they keep putting out the same album over and over again, doesn't it? It all sounds the same, right?
Tell me about the
Uh,
evolution of Creed. No, let's go into the evolution of Creed, and how much those 4 albums differ.
I would contest that there is more diversity in the Creed catalog than the Nickelback catalog. And here's evidence as to why in Nickelback's songwriting from Chad Kroger himself. He was thinking to himself, what makes a banger in the early 2000s before How You Remind Me came out? He started studying every piece, everything lyrically and musically, chord structure. He would dissect every song that was on the radio that did well on the charts and thought, why did it do well? And that's how he wrote How You Remind Me, because it was about a romantic relationship, a universal subject, and contained memorable hooks. Thus, every song became the exact same forever and ever in Nickelback history. Exact same tone, exact same drum beats, exact same measures, tunage, same length. Da 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 da. Every Nickelback song is basically that.
The current discussion is popularity. So if he figured out what literally the general population, what would get the most people to listen, you're again making my argument for me. Think of the Green Days doing the same thing. If there's a
Okay, well,
formulaic
I'll move it for a different
aspect
argument
to
then.
it,
I'll take it out of the popularity
we're gonna
argument
bail
then.
on popularity. That's
Well,
that's
it's fine.
fine.
I mean,
That's an interesting.
I'm just saying,
No,
popularity
back
is
yourself
okay,
into a
but
corner, man.
you suffer. The music suffers. That's why they were so popular. They became the most hated band ever. Right? I mean, they're the most hated band. I mean, if you want
The
popular,
Nickelback
just say,
hate
listen.
is
I'm just segueing into a question two, which is who is most hated,
right, right. Okay,
which is very objective.
it is very, very, very objective. Um, people certainly, will say this: they were out and climbing to the top at the same time that really that new metal and the metal scene in general were coming out and really also taking prominence, and they were seen as a group of pretty boys and kind of like faux badasses in the world of metal, and that leaked out because of
Pretty
the
funny.
internet. And so when metal bands started using them as kind of the issue with popularity, people jumped on the bandwagon. As people tend to do, they like to just be part of a trend. And there was no real substance or sincerity. And certainly the numbers did not show that they were hated in any way. It was cool to act like people hated, but clearly the numbers showed that there was substantially more love for Nickelback than hatred. That's all I have to say about the matter.
Yeah, they were. There was something about those bands that, I mean, we already talked about it, but Nickelback was the go-to punchline for almost 2 decades of like the worst band, the internet's most hated band. Um, are they having a revival? I can't tell if they've come back from it. I think there's now the people that were like they weren't as bad as we said they were. Like I think there's a lot of love for Nickelback because they're like, oh, they're not that bad. We said they were the worst band in the world, and maybe they're like the third worst band in the world. And so there was so much hate that now they get like um, accidental love for not being truly the worst. Because you can go to any kind of show any week and be like, well, at least Nickelback can put on a show. You know, they have like pyro and they have functional songs, and people go watch their shows for some reason. But they're not the worst band. They're just the worst popular band that ever existed. And that's kind of what the argument was for a long time. And it's hard to disagree with it in terms of, again, song structure, musicality, performance, talent, any of those things that also factor into music. Um, but yeah, I would say they got the short end of the stick for a long time. They're not the worst band that ever existed. But I think they deserve probably like 8 years of being the most hated band, not like 12 or 13 years. it's, it's a balance. There was a poll in 2013. Rolling Stone put out the worst 90s bands. It was interesting. They had Nickelback number 2 on that list, which is interesting because I guess that was before the 2000s, before they became really good. when they really became better at being a band. Um, I mean, full
Well,
disclosure, Creed was number one on that list, but still. But
yeah.
it also included Nirvana and Bush and Dave Matthews Bands and Hootie and the Blowfish, which is kind of unreal. It's insane. Like, who voted on this thing? You know who I hate? Nickelback and Nirvana. Who is that person?
So Creed, if you're going like pretty boy aspect, arguably was even worse than Nickelback tried being. There are some
What do you mean?
promo photos of Creed out there that are amazingly terrible. There is
Do
a
you have some?
I came across
Yeah, you did.
hold on.
It's so pretty.
I don't even
Printed it
know
out
how
and
to
came
get this
across
to
it.
you. Hold on.
Oh, can you share?
Hold on. Maybe.
Or you can put it in the chat. Can you send it in the chat?
Let's see here.
And I can pull it up.
In the chat, we have a chat.
Or are you able to share?
Yeah, let's try.
I can't wait till you share your screen and there's a tab that says Scott Stapp abs pics.
Is it sharing?
I don't see anything.
Oh, it says it's loading. Yeah, I don't know. It won't share for me.
We have a screen on the right, or on the right side. There's a chat. If you just copy the link and send it to me, maybe I
there
can
it is.
try it.
But
we're looking at what, a pretty boy picture.
Oh yeah, it's
I mean, Scott Stapp did refuse to button up his shirt all the way. I'll say that.
Let's see. I don't know if you can access that.
All right.
So not only that is Scott Stapp clearly hijacked the voice of Pearl Jam's Eddie Vedder and threw it onto a Christian rock scene. So that in itself too is just, there's nothing worse than bastardizing one of those voices that everyone likes, with Eddie Vedder, and well, even the people that don't like there they are.
Wow.
That is,
look at that nipple piercing.
That is a real picture of a shirtless Creed. And if you're like,
wow.
well, which one shirtless, Jeff? All of them? The answer is yes. All of them are shirtless.
All of it.
So,
all right. I don't want to get copywritten for that.
There is an aspect of vanity that people just don't accept. And I think, again, the voice of Scott Stapp, some people loved, but a lot of people hated. I mean, you talk about people, Creed would get mentioned in movies. I can instantly think of what, I can't instantly think of it because I can't remember which one I was going to drop. But Creed is the mimicking of the voice. If you're like, hey, sing like Creed, they'd go, and it's that yarl that Scott Stapp has that drove people insane. So and he leaned into that. I will admit, My Own Prison, in the first their first release, My Own Prison, he did have not as much of a distinct voice, and also the mixing was better to be it more a composition of every aspect of the music. And then their subsequent albums, they're like, oh, this is the real meat and potatoes. And those vocals came out and he was wow for everything. Yeah. And it really, people all of a sudden were like, oh God, this is a fucking nightmare. And it really, really made it easy to hate because those vocals.
Yeah, he did. It was derivative of grunge era vocals for sure. We were really into it though. Lest we forget, people were into it. Nobody at that time was saying this is trash, we don't like this. People were into it. Going to live shows in 2000 to Darien Lake. seeing Scott Stapp and his sexy asshole when it ripped, his pants ripped. Did you go to the show?
Yeah.
Didn't we see it live?
Yeah.
That was all. Yeah, his pants ripped. Got the full Monty. Yeah, from the back end. Just a real piece of ass. He was, nipples and all. And the Mark Tremonti soul patch. I mean, where are you on the soul patch versus goatee debate? Because here's we just saw Mark Tremonti's classic. Here, I'll pull this up. The classic soul patch. Let's see this versus the Chad Kroeger goatee. Now, I've been pretty pretty vocal about my hatred of the mouth circle and what it means. Told a story about somebody who tried to sexually assault his wife's sister who had a goatee. Coincidence? I don't know. You tell me. But man, that's just a goatee guy. You know, I'm not. You know, just. Versus the very sexy soul patch that was a pinnacle of sexy rocker in the late 90s, early 2000s. Also of wrestling. Big sexy wrestlers.
You can't get this argument out without laughing. So obviously you are not buying into what you're saying. Now, that being said, Chad Kroeger did bail on the goatee, albeit admittedly it took him far too long to bail on the goatee. As far as damn it. As far as his look in general, I would say
the ramen hair.
I would say we should steer away from from styles, as no one is a winner in this. I will objectively. If you Google Nickelback group photos, you're gonna get so many versions.
What is it,
Nick?
What is
Kroeger. Just
Chad Kroeger
Nickelback
hair?
group photo. No, just put Nickelback group photo and go to Google Images. You will get so many versions of Chad Kroeger, and you're like, nope, nope, nope. You're like, oh, good. He had really long hair with the goatee, but then he shortened it to like just below the ears. Nope, that doesn't work. Okay, now he straightened it. Nope, that doesn't work. Like he just kept
this
trying.
Era of the short hair. Yeah. Oh yeah, I did the flat iron hair.
So many bad versions of it. It's really rough to defend.
Yeah. Here's the ramen.
He
head.
eventually did bail on it. I think it took about a decade, but he does now have shorter, still dyed blonde look that is not generally welcomed, but he now just has more of stubble and kind of feathered hair. He looks like the wrestler Chris Jericho did in like 2015. He looks very similar. They are both Canadian, so perhaps that's something that I'm just missing. It is a Canadian look.
That's a 40-year-old Canadian cut. Yeah.
Yeah. But there is, there's a group photo where their drummer did adapt the soul patch along the way. So he was late to the party with soul patch, but he had that for a while. So yeah, I mean, it's an easy look to be. If you don't watch your step, that's going to be the first thing people go for, right? Is because people are shallow, and as a society, we like to throw hate where we think it's going to hurt people the most, and the easiest thing that comes forward is what we can see on the outside. So I don't think it provokes hate, but it certainly becomes the most talked topic when someone has decided to hate. And so therefore, at that point, I don't think that it plays as big of a part. It's just the easiest thing to speak to.
Well, we saw that one image. I mean, one of those pictures I pulled up, Chad looked exactly like Jesus. And God complex much? Complex much? I got those words.
Talk much?
I mean, Creed gets accused a lot of being a Christian band. Never were. Never claimed to be.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
No, they aren't. Scott Stapp said word for word, they are not a Christian band. Just because people have a spiritual experience when they're listening to the music doesn't mean it's a Christian band. In fact, on the first album, and I quote, he used the words "God damn." When was the last time you heard a Christian use the words "God damn"? Jeff?
Many, many times.
No, not true Christians. And in fact, when asked about it,
Whoa, whoa,
never claimed to be a
whoa.
Christian band. Just a man of the Lord of the
So-
cloth does not necessarily a
All right.
Christian band make.
Well, we've just lost probably a handful of viewers because Matt's calling people not real Christians. So Matt's bringing religion. So I think it's in this effort in the true creed style. This is perfect. He's trying to bring in religion where it's not supposed to be part of the discussion. So, you know what? It shows a lot. For all of you non-denominational Christians, using the Lord's name in vain is just, something that when you do, I forgive you. The Lord forgives you. And, regardless of what Matt says, you are still a true Christian in my eyes. So God bless.
I'm just saying, nobody in Creed cosplayed as the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. No one dressed
I'm sorry.
and shaped themselves in his image.
Did Jesus have wet, dyed blonde curls? Is that what Jesus looked like in your eyes? That's what Jesus was? Pretty interesting for a Middle Eastern guy. But no,
hey.
he has the grip on the look of a beard, and Jesus had a goatee. So Jesus had a goatee, long wet blonde curls. Well, that is a new outlook on Jesus.
Jeff, look at this photograph. Every time I do, it takes me back to Jesus, BC, into AD. Look at that.
Your perception.
What a God complex that guy has.
What a Chad Kroeger complex you have.
If this doesn't say Jesus, I don't know what does. Cool Jesus. He's cool Jesus.
A goatee, shoulder length blonde curls, and like cheap motorcycle glasses with what appears to be like a leather jacket. That screams Jesus to Matt.
Cool
okay,
Jesus.
Sure, gang. All right, fine. I'll give you the Jesus card because that's what Jesus looked like.
Oh, dude.
All right.
Oh, that's fun. We're having a good time.
For Matt's sake, we're going to move on to the next topic because I just want to hear how he pans these rest of these out.
Well, can we segue into that? I think we'll go back to question 3, but for number 4, who gets more hate, Stapp or Kroeger? I think we can say it's a tie. I think it's hard to truly establish. I'd be comfortable with that.
Yeah, I mean, both of them probably get a decent amount of hate that they shouldn't get. And one's based on his look, the other one's based on his voice, and yeah, we'll call that a wash. Yeah, neither one is terribly embraced by society, regardless of the band themselves.
All right, so we skipped over who had the greatest hit. Went over popularity, different measurements if you want to use most listened to. That's the argument you would go with. How you remind me, I would imagine.
It is.
I could lean on a poll from Consequence magazine. You know that post grunge hot online
Never heard
journal.
of it, but please continue.
Consequence, come on. Their top 50 post grunge songs. Number 48, With Arms Wide Open. Number 25, My Sacrifice. Number 19, Chad Kroeger with Josie. What's his name?
Josie Scott
and the Pussycats. Yeah. Hero, Spider-Man.
Wow. Even Sony,
How You Remind Me.
When Sony Studios was deciding to make a Spider-Man movie, who did they go to ensure the best representation for such an epic movie? They went to Chad Kroeger. They knew where to go.
Because they knew exactly what the song would sound like. They're like, hey, can you do just your song with different words in it? The same song that you always do?
Oh, yeah, no, that's
funny.
I
can do that.
Well, yeah, no, that was, what was that?
Number 2, How You Remind Me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And number 1, Creed's Higher.
Okay. Sure. And that was from who?
Consequence Magazine.
Okay.
Name a better publication about post
Um.
grunge
Well,
music.
I found this one best rock songs of the 2000s by this I don't know this Billboard, whatever that is. Um, Creed, 29 with My Sacrifice, 49 or excuse me 41 with Arms Wide Open, and 51 with Higher. So 3 for all intents and purposes in the top 50. Not bad. Huh. Let's see what we got here. Nickelback is actually at 100 with Someday. Great song, no doubt. But number 100 on a list of 100. Yeesh, awkward.
Doubtful.
Nickelback at 68 with Figured You Out. That's an aggressive song for sure. Nickelback at 58
Really? Does anybody know it?
with Too Bad. Does anyone know a song in the top 100? Yeah. And then one more. Oh, it's number 1 with How You Remind Me by Billboard. The epitome of musical ranking, certainly by popularity, meaning most embraced. So Billboard says that the top song of the 2000s, the top rock song of the 2000s was by Nickelback with How You Remind Me. And Creed was at 29 with Arms Wide Open.
I mean, that's just because it got shoved into our ear holes without consent.
Interesting theory. Or excuse me, My Sacrifice.
I would ask you, in terms of songs, to go through just in your head, sing as much as you can of any Creed song versus any Nickelback song. How far do you make it in? Which ones do you remember? Speaking of How You Remind me of all the Nickelback songs you've listened to or can remember besides How You Remind Me. Like more than like 2 seconds worth, 3 seconds worth. Like those songs you were just mentioning on Billboard. Name a beat. What was that, number 58? Can you say that one again? How does that one go again? Just give me a couple bars. Give me a couple beats.
Hold on. I went off the website because I thought we were done, but let me jump back into it. Let's see, Nickelback. Okay.
Or
number 58.
Give me any Nickelback. What's that banger? How does that one go again?
Too Bad. I personally don't know the song, but this is not about this competition. Isn't see you're going off track because you know what I know of the band as far as listening to the music, and it's not about me. It's about a competition amongst the masses. All right, so I'm not going to stand here.
I'm just saying in a debate where
you lucked out because you love Creed and you have a connection to Creed, so you know that you're going to ask a question.
Love Creed.
You love Creed. You have a connection to Creed, and you know what you're asking, and you know that you can sing Creed songs, and I may not be able to sing Nickelback songs, but that's okay. It's not about what I like. I'm a guy who likes ska music and punk and metal. That's not widely accepted. So the fact that I don't know Nickelback songs verbatim is perfectly understandable, and that's not what this debate's about. I'm speaking on behalf of the millions and millions of Nickelback fans out there.
Well, in the preparation for this debate, I did listen to Nickelback music and Creed music to remind myself. The fact that you couldn't even get yourself to listen to Nickelback songs in preparation for this says all I need to know. Couldn't even drag yourself into their world to hear their biggest hits. You're like, nah, I'm good.
You just asked me to sing their songs.
I get what it'll sound like.
You asked me to sing
just
the
give me
song
a beat. Give me a few
memory.
Beats.
You asked me to sing a song from memory, so now you're changing what that even means. You're changing your own questions on the fly.
I was saying, it's too bad, it's too bad, it's too good, it's too bad.
Look at this photograph.
Too bad. See, yeah.
Never made it as a wise man.
Whereas I
never made it as a poor man stealing. Okay, that's all I gotta say. Something
and actually
animals.
Nickelback, that 99 album, I think I owned it. And Leader of Men, that was a good song. I am not a leader of men, or I choose to follow. That was a pretty diverse album, and the last one I owned. Everyone after that, I did not. Unfortunately, I couldn't spin them. I don't know what I forgot what I was talking about there.
Nice.
But yeah, song. It's about the songs. It's about the music.
So,
I know you think it's about the numbers and Billboard's the end all be all.
Know what I want to bring up, because this doesn't fit categorically into stuff, but I want to make sure I get all of my
I got
notes.
some of these. All right.
So let's talk about the creation of the band, right? The footing of it. So Nickelback came from the. You might be going, well, why is their name Nickelback? Well, Mike Kroger, Chad's brother and band member, because family is important. Mike Kroger worked at a Starbucks, and there was a common order in which the patron would often hand X amount of cash over, and 5 cents would be their change. And he made it a habit of saying, "Here's your nickel back," and they joked about it, and that's where the name came from. Something nice and wholesome, kind of a cool little anecdote that you can tell when you're talking to the paparazzi and everything like that. Let's talk about where Creed came from. Creed's bassist was in a band called Maddox Creed. And when Scott Stapp heard that, he liked the band named Creed. So they just dropped the Maddox and became Creed. Scott Stapp basically just bootlegged off someone else's band name and dropped one of the words. Bravo, Scott. Wow, that's such a deep meaning for your band name. Impressive.
Well, it's not like Nickelback is an invented word or a phrase. We're not inventing words here. They're just using words that are already in the common lexicon.
But Creed doesn't even make sense to anything. It's not even, it's literally, that'd be like someone being like, I like Nickelback, I'm going to name my band Nickel. It's not about the word, it's about why you chose it. And Creed is literally just a shit version of another unsuccessful band that the bassist came from.
And they made it wildly successful. Also, wow. Apollo Creed, very cool. Creed is very cool.
That's not why they did it. That's not why they did it.
Every time yeah. But it's associated. Nickelback. Oh, it's a football secondary position also. Who cares? What? They're just words.
What? What? Wow.
Dragging you into the mud with confusion.
Full strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. All right. So
did you know? Here's a fun story if you want to get into fun stories. Mm-hmm. The Bert Kreischer effect. Bert Kreischer, Florida State alumnus, was in a band with a couple guys playing some songs, being the front man. A couple guys named Brian and whoever the other guys are in Creed, the bassist and the drummer, brought in a little guitarist named Mark Tremonti and started playing together at Florida State. And Mark was like, "You're terrible. I'm going to leave." Brought the two guys with him, got together, and formed Creed. So Bert Kreischer, the Machine, arguably one of the most popular comedians ever, now tells stories that he wishes he was still in Creed. Wishes he would have been better and tried harder, because he would have been part of the magic that is Creed. And part of maybe one of the best arguments in this is the Mark Tremonti effect. I mean, the only other band member you can name in Nickelback is Mark, because it's Chad's brother. But everybody knows Mark Tremonti in the rock world. A lot of success with Alter Bridge and the other band members. and he's the linchpin, the key to Creed's success in terms of their musicality, in terms of at least creating some kind of difference in some songs, maybe some solos, maybe some light acoustic stuff, a little bit of dynamics, slinging the PRS guitar out there, and the soul patch. But probably the most talented amongst everybody in any of these bands, as the multi Loudwire award winning guitarist of the year, and arguably the best musician amongst all of them is in Creed.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's interesting that you say that. Certainly, Mark Tremonti is a fantastic talent, and I would never take anything away from his abilities and his style of play, his creativity. But let me ask you this: if why is he often and more often than not taking those talents to his side project Tremonti and Alter Bridge? So it seems that he himself is not as invested in Creed as he is into his projects outside of Creed. So my argument is that why is this wildly talented person saying to himself, presumably, I can't waste any of these songs on Creed. It just won't be what I need it to be. So Creed actually sounds like it's holding back Mark Tremonti from his full creativity and where he wants to go with his music.
Obviously, it's because Scott Stapp in the early 2000s, when they broke up for the first time, and before they broke up for the second time, cool band story. Breakups are always cool. Scott Stapp was an addict and an alcoholic, and that's what makes good bands. You're never going to watch behind the music of somebody being really boring.
Yeah,
And,
well, Chad
you know.
Kroeger is a misogynistic piece of shit. So he writes lyrics that are sometimes awkwardly aggressive towards women.
The coolest thing about Chad Kroeger is that Avril Lavigne divorced him. That's the coolest thing that ever happened to him and ever will happen to him.
He was married to Avril Lavigne for 2 magical years.
Other than that, boring as shit. And she was like, "You are boring and your hair is noodles. Get me out of here."
All right, we won't talk about your also link to Avril Lavigne.
Oh fuck, man! I wish.
Go back to.
I wish we were linked.
Going
linked
back to Redondo TV, and in the post credits of one of your episodes, it said Vril, thanks for the fresca.
Yeah.
So
Damn.
there was an obsession with Avril Lavigne.
I was going to write her a letter in 1999. I thought about it, or no, we were in. I think we were in college because we were at
99.
McCoy,
I
so
was going to say you did not know who Avril Lavigne was in 1999.
Yeah, I know. She wasn't a thing yet, probably. But I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to write her an email and tell her I have a crush on her. I thought about that seriously for like 3 days. I could have been Chad Kroeger.
Damn it. You could have been Matt Kroeger. I don't know how that works. Yeah, so listen, you mentioned breakups. Nickelback, as I had mentioned earlier, 30 years. You know how many breakups they've had in those 30 years? None breakups. There is harmony there.
Tell that to Avril.
That is not fair. That is a divorce, and his brothers and the strength of the band is what keeps people going when they're in their own personal hardships. If Creed was as good of a band as it acted, maybe Mark Tremonti would have helped Scott Stapp and been there for Scott Stapp in better ways, as opposed to leaving him to die, because we had a lot of personal scares where we thought we were losing Scott Stapp. Luckily, T.I. saved Scott Stapp's life once, which is one of the weirdest things to say, because when asked, you don't know that?
No.
T.I., the rapper, Scott Stapp got hopped up on, I believe it was alcohol, but possibly other things, and threw himself like off a balcony and like landed and like was
Dude, that's cool as shit.
Was in really rough shape in Florida, and a passerby came and helped and organized the crowd and called 911, and it was T.I. And when asked about when asked about it, T.I. said, I didn't know who he was. So T.I. thought he was just helping some guy, and it was Scott Stapp from Creed. And Scott Stapp like acknowledges that like T.I. saved his life. Yeah, it is insane.
No shit.
But guess who didn't? Mark Tremonti. Because Mark Tremonti was over there altering bridges and still writing while his band members, fellow band members, were on their deathbed and needed their help the most.
Well, what matters is that they're together right now. You know what? Everybody goes through ups and downs, through growth, through challenges. But where do we go, as people? Who's poised for the greatest comeback, says producer Tim in question number 5. Want to talk numbers? Just look up Ticketmaster. Haven't released an album since 2009, Creed. Nobody really remembers that one. It was their 4th. But it was the Edge. It was their attempted comeback. Well, here they are touring in the summer of 99 tour. With 4 albums under their belt, selling out crowds, with 55 events still upcoming on Ticketmaster. Nickelback, 7 upcoming events. Creed, living the high life in a wave, in their 3rd wave, maybe their 4th wave, of truly feeling the love of fans and support of people going out there to watch what they consider the greatest butt rock band of all time. The demand is there. Okay. It's not worn thin like Nickelback. Who's out there wanting to see Nickelback right now? All I got to do is go to billboard.com and read about it.
If you think a tour entirely focused on nostalgia is what a comeback is, you are sadly mistaken. A comeback means that you are dishing out original music and people are buying back into the new music. Nickelback never went away. You can't come back when you never go away. But Creed is doing this nostalgia. Creed is going off of, we are going to ride our own coattails. Hey, remember this? They're member berries. Creed has now become South Park's member berries. Remember Arms Wide Open? Remember Higher? Oh, yeah, you remember. Remember when you were kissing your first girlfriend? Yeah, you remember. Like, this isn't, people don't love this for what it is. They love it for how it makes them feel. It's picking up a controller and playing an NES game. That's what this feeling is. It's not, the game wasn't great. It's how it takes you back to a different time in your life and you remember how you felt at that time. So this Creed band comeback, this isn't a comeback. This is a nostalgia tour. And nostalgia tours are, for all intents and purposes, they're lazy. And look at the supports. Is this Creed by itself playing 2 hours of Creed? No. It's Three Doors Down. It's Switchfoot. It's Tonic. Gee, wow. It's the Summer of 99 tour. Get it? Get it, gang? It's the K-Rockathon. It is all of the kookiness that came along with it. And it's nostalgia. That's not a comeback. That's not a comeback.
Sounds because like after the best summer, post-grunge bands of that era.
At best, we will get a new Creed album that will fall flat and no one will listen to it because they're like, no, I didn't ask for this. I want to feel like I'm a teenager again. I want to feel like I'm a 20-year-old again. That's what I wanted. So that's why they're paying to go to a concert, is to feel young again, not because they're like, oh my God, I just want more Creed music. Why can't I have it? So no, Nickelback doesn't have tours coming up because you want to know why? They're just like anyone else. These guys have been hammering away for 30 years, consistently putting out albums at least every 3 years. And you know what? They don't need to rely on this nostalgia. They're always trying to evolve and make it work with new music. And Creed, it does the whole, let's go away for a while and then we'll have this big tour because people, want to reminisce of how it used to be. Cool, bro. Cool. But when Arms Wide Open is now about someone who's like 25, it doesn't really have the same feeling.
So, yes, Creed is most poised for a comeback then.
I guess. Point. Yeah, sure. Fine. Creed's most poised for a comeback because you can't come back when you are still going. So, yes, Creed's most poised on a scale of 0 to 200 on comeback. Nickelback's at N/A and Creed's at 2.
Hey, Nickelback's just going to keep riding the train of mediocrity, Gonna keep being there right at a 2.5 out of 10, just like they've always been. Not gonna strive for anything. Not gonna change anything. Just gonna keep doing
Well,
what
then
they
you're
do
insulting
because
the
they're
general
scraping the
public as a
bottom of the
whole.
barrel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely have never accomplished anything. You're right. You're right.
I think lastly, if I could just appeal to the people listening to this and let us know in the comments if you've made it this far. We'll vote in a poll. Just think, go back to the arguments. What songs do you remember? Besides how you remind me in photograph. Sure, it's memeable. Look at this photograph. What's any other verse in that song? Any other part of that song? But you remember My Own Prison. Number one, My Own Prison.
You
Out of all
remember.
this, the greatest, it's the best album out of all the albums all of these bands have put out. Songs like Torn, that was really good. Remember that one? Higher, everybody remembers. My Sacrifice, everybody remembers. With Arms Wide Open, everybody remembers. And can sing the full choruses. If somebody went to karaoke to sing a Creed song, like maybe 10 different Creed songs, they would barely have to look at the screen. You could say that for maybe two Nickelback songs. The musicality is better. And I've listened to it in the last 20 years. I've revisited Creed just to remember it, to hear it, see if I still liked it. And while I say it didn't hit me like it did when I was 18 years old, I can say I understand why I liked it. And I could see myself going to a Creed show for the member berries. I don't think I would ever pay to go see a Nickelback show because I don't have member berries for them. Because I don't know, they don't have a. I don't. They don't elicit a feeling. They elicit a feeling of a time and a place of the 2000s, which were donkey balls. But that's all there is. The best argument, I don't know why you didn't make it. The best argument for Nickelback is didn't one of their songs, wasn't it on Raw or something at one point? That's the best thing Nickelback has ever done and ever accomplished. That they had a song on WWE programming, I'm pretty sure. And if you want to put your hat on that, that's fine. Billboard and Raw. Other than that, music, touring, songwriting, I don't know. I'm probably not going to listen to a lot of Creed or Nickelback from here on out. So I think I've exhausted the $10. I think that's it.
Well, folks, you talk about, Matt wanted to drop. Obviously, Matt has a certain feeling himself towards Creed. So I just want to remind you, Matt had to say many times, like, I wouldn't do this. I don't want this. This doesn't incite things in me. Great. So now we know Matt likes Creed more than Nickelback. I don't remember that.
I speak for the people.
I don't remember that being the debate topic. But since he wanted to bring up stuff like video games and things like that, looks like Creed had you mentioned that Creed was on a video, or Nickelback was on a video.
Assassin's Creed?
Creed.
Oh, Raw. Oh, I thought the show. Weren't they on the show?
Sorry,
the
Raw.
show? Wasn't it like...
So Creed has, in pop culture, because we're talking about, popularity is a major thing with this. Let's see. Creed is featured on a game called Rocksmith. Now that was I believe a build your own music. So they had like things you could mix. They were also on Rock Band 4. Pretty impressive.
Or Rocksmith, you could play real guitar into like a Guitar Hero setup.
That's what it was. Right.
Yeah.
Nickelback was on Karaoke Revolution. MLB 2005. So sports. Oh, nice crossover there. MX vs. ATV Unleashed. Ooh. NCAA
classic.
March Madness. More sports. More karaoke revolutions. Lots of them. NHL 2010. Matt, you like hockey. And evidently the hockey crowd.
That one hurts.
Oh, WWE versus SmackDown Raw, or WWE SmackDown versus Raw 2011. Rock Band 2, Rock Band 3, Rock Band 4, the very one that I mentioned for Creed, and many others. As we know, video games are extremely popular in society, and I don't think video games that became so popular would ever tether themselves to a band that the people didn't want to hear. So, sporting soundtracks, I personally think that the NHL hockey soundtracks, while I don't own NHL games, I've always said that the NHL EA Sports games had the best soundtracks. Um, so, while Matt clearly has made it apparent that he doesn't like Nickelback, I think that the evidence has still shown that Nickelback does have ups and downs, and maybe they do have albums that are less popular than others, but they never gave up, and they've always been putting their best foot forward on how to stay doing what they love to do as a group by being together for 30 years, putting stuff out, hitting the ranks of bands like, they're basically our new age Aerosmith. They are just gonna, or maybe I should say the Rolling Stones, because the Rolling Stones keep putting out albums. So with constantly now, do they have the same sound? Yeah, because that sound is the genre they choose to go for. So a band doesn't need to evolve in the way of changing their style and things like that. Because again, Creed never certainly changed their style. They never jumped into different genres or anything. So you said yourself that their last album, their fourth album, which was 15 years ago, wasn't even that notable. So the last time Creed put something out, Weathered, I believe, in 2003, we're now talking 21 years ago, the last time that you yourself say that they actually made any sort of impact. So, again, if the argument is who is more nostalgic for a certain thing, perhaps I admit that it is Creed. But when we're talking about popularity and the best band overall, I think the clear runaway winner is Nickelback.
Agree to disagree.
I disagree with that. Now we need the data.
Don't
based
you remember
on the
when oh god, I can't do anymore.
No, I'm
All
tired.
right,
I'm
people
so
vote.
tired.
Let's have a vote. Somebody, we'll figure out how to do a vote on it. What a debate. This has got me. I mean, you know what's the worst part of this debate is that I've been listening to songs on Spotify to try to get remembered, so Nickelback and Creed songs.
Yes, your Spotify's getting the data.
I know. And then what happens is it like I think on like Bumble it has like your Spotify listen to is like your thing. So now it's gonna say like Nickelback and Creed. So it's either gonna be really nerdy or people are gonna think it's hilarious. And I don't know which one it's gonna be, but I need to clear that up immediately.
No one's gonna assume it's funny. It's gonna, unless you address it in your profile, you're gonna have to address it. I do a podcast and I had to research Creed and Nickelback. And you know what? You're fucked because you can't even explain that in your profile without it sounding even worse.
Well, because I have all these bands that are like not huge bands that I've just been discovering through like YouTube algorithms and stuff lately, like a lot of like kind of punk stuff and whatever small time stuff. So it's like it's gonna be like 8 bands nobody's heard of, and then Nickelback and Creed on the list. And be like, what the fuck is this guy? But so folks, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chad.
Now I want to put this properly. We want to know who won the debate. Not which band is better. No, it's who won the debate. The art of debate. So you could say someone won the debate even if you don't like that band. The person won the debate. So that's what this is. Remember, a debate is a winner and loser of the debate, not necessarily siding with the argument.
Fair, but I also think people should think about who the best band is.
Okay.
The better band when they're thinking about that.
Okay. Interesting.
in terms of the debate.
Fine. We need two answers. Who won the debate? Who's the better band? That's what we need. Who won the debate and who's the better band? I'm going to
God.
post this on social media.
I'm also just genuinely curious of like, does anybody have any impassioned feelings or what your general thoughts on Nickelback and Creed are? And did we touch on anything that resonates with you, or did we miss anything that like seemed obvious, or like was like you guys didn't even talk about this part of it or this thing or whatever? Because I'm sure we did.
I got burnt out.
I would say
this.
a more robust debate than I thought. I mean, I thought this was going to go like 20 minutes, and that's all we'd have, but just enough to get us through the next 20 years.
Right.
I think
we'll recap in 20 years for the revisit for Creed versus Nickelback 2.
All right, good stuff. I guess that's it. Yeah, comments. I think we did have some other stuff down the road. I know Bill Pistachio Kid was maybe hinting at a possible Pauly Shore deal. I did want to regroup on Nick Cage. I watched a movie this last week that I think Andy, one of our fans, Andy, had recommended that we thought was going to be like almost too good for the Nick Cage thing, but it was Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah.
The one where he's in the like the Chuck E. Cheese, Five Nights at Freddy's kind of thing. And it was we should have watched that. It would have been perfect. It's like an hour 20. I recommend it.
I did see one on our list.
What was it?
Dying of the Light. I did watch that.
Yeah.
That is the Anton Yelkin. He's the CIA agent that needs to finds out that the guy who tried to kill him is still alive. It's more
worth it.
It's more Nick Cage. It's more in that gray area, which at least makes it a watchable movie because you're like, oh, that's right. Plot and stuff is important. Like flow is important. So it was an easy watch, whereas Prisoners of Ghostland was just a nightmare to process.
Yeah. Willy's Wonderland was good, bad. It had stupid fighting scenes, violence, like stuff that makes you go like, what the fuck's going on? But perfectly. Like it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prisoners was bad.
Yeah. All right. Guess that's all we have for today.
Yeah.
Thanks for the recommendation, Tim. Thanks for the $10. And I guess just to finish, I'll speak for Jeff on behalf and say that doing this was my sacrifice.
My God.
Do it.
This is how you remind me of who I really am.